Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, and happy Monday. Welcome to Careers Q&A, Susana's Q&A. I hope y'all are doing amazing when you are catching this live up and through here. So welcome. For those of you who are coming into the room, hello. My name is Susana Briscoe-Alba, lead career strategist at Dunamis Coaching and Consulting Services. If you are joining me, you are joining me either on IG or you're joining me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Hey, fam, how are you? So if this is your first time here, would you drop a 1 in the chat and tell me where you are joining me from? If this is not your first time here and you've been here before, drop a 2 in the chat and tell me where you are joining me from. And if you are catching this on the replay, I want you to comment hashtag replay and let me know that you were here. Okay, if you are catching this on the replay and you want to tell me where you're from, I'm excited to welcome you. But I'm seeing some ones coming into the building. I see someone from Seattle. I see Arizona, England. I see someone from Dubai, Salem, North Carolina. California is in the building. Let's see. London is in the house. All right. Italy is here. Okay. Hey, Baltimore. What's going on, North Carolina? How exciting. Okay, I see folks now. My tribe is showing up. So I see folks from Eastern New York, Eastern North Carolina. I see folks from Northern California. Dallas, Texas is in the house. Florida is in the building. Hello from France. I love it. This never gets old, y'all. The ability to connect with you guys in this way is just mind-blowing to me, and I don't take it lightly. So thank you so much for joining me today. I am looking forward to connecting with y'all today. So we are going to talk about some stuff, okay? Because I have asked you to share with me what are your questions regarding career and such, and I am ready to answer some of these questions. Now, some of these questions I have answered. So if I don't get to your question today, please do not get salty, okay? Do not get upset if I don't answer your question. It is likely that I have answered these questions in the past. So if you don't see me respond to your question right away, it's not that I don't want to talk to you or that I don't want you here. That is not true. I am excited that you're here, but some of these questions I may have already answered. And so I have resources that you can go back to so that you can check them out and get the answers that hopefully you are looking for. So we are going to get this party started, okay? And one of the questions that I got is regarding imposter syndrome. And so we're going to jump right into subject matter material. If you have ever been in a state or in a season of dealing with imposter syndrome, can you drop a me in the chat? Has anyone struggled with imposter syndrome? If you've ever struggled with imposter syndrome, can you drop a me in the chat? Because what we're going to do is we're going to confront it for what it is, okay? And I think that a lot of us struggle with imposter syndrome. One, because it is a buzz term. And two, because we've not necessarily been equipped with what to do when we are feeling the feelings of imposter syndrome, okay? And so my first recommendation to you is going to be, do not let a stage become a state, okay? I talk in sound bites. So if you are taking notes, I'm going to encourage you to have something to write with because I am going to be giving you some tea today. But the first thing when it relates to imposter syndrome is not to let a stage become a state. Whenever you are learning something new, whenever you are engaging with something new, there is going to be this season in which you will likely have some questions surrounding what do I do next? How do I do this? This seems really hard. I'm uncomfortable. And the reason that I tell you not to let a stage become a state is because it's only a stage that you're going through. It's not a state in which you need to live in. So imposter syndrome is not a state in which we have to live in, especially as it relates to the job search. So if you're in a season where you are looking for a new role and you feel as if you cannot apply to higher roles or bigger positions because you're not qualified enough, because you're too old, because you're too young, because you have a degree, because you don't have a degree. May I submit to you that it's not that you are struggling with imposter syndrome. There are just some gaps that need to be addressed. Okay. And so if you are in a season where you're struggling with imposter syndrome, I want to just break some things down that hopefully will give you some clarity. And so imposter syndrome is pretty much just identifying that there is something within you, there is a skill within you that needs to be developed. And that is quite normal as you grow and as you thrive within your career. That is quite normal. But there are certain things within your career you will have to confront head on in order to shut the voices of imposter syndrome. And so the way that you do that is threefold. If you want me to give you the tea on how to combat imposter syndrome, I want you to say ready. And I'm going to give you the 3 things that I think you need in order to combat that. Okay. So I want you to write ready in the chat when you're ready. So like that, I can tell you what those 3 things are. I want to give you time so that you can catch up with me. Okay, my loves? Because what we not going to do is allow imposter syndrome to lie to us. Okay. So if you're ready, I want you to say ready. All right. I'm seeing it. Some of y'all are like, Susana, just give it to me. Tell me. Okay. So the first thing that you are going to do when you are combating those emotions of imposter syndrome, the first thing that I want you to look at, okay, point number 1 is, what does the data say? Somebody write that in the chat. What does the data say? And sharing is caring, y'all. So if you know someone else who is in a season where they're struggling with imposter syndrome, I want you to share this live with them. Because if it's going to bless you, it's likely going to bless them. Okay. So the first thing that I want you to think through is, what does the data say? That's the first thing that I want you to evaluate when you're dealing with imposter syndrome. The reason that I'm having you type that out is because you have overcome 100% of the things that were supposed to take you out. I'm going to say that one more time for those who are in the nosebleed section. You have already overcome 100% of the things that were intended to take you out. And so those things that were meant to take you out are now steps that you walk upon. So this is why it's important for you to assess, what does the data say? Because in previous seasons, it was hard, but you're still here, leading me to believe that what was hard in a previous season did not take you out. So what does the data say? So when you are looking at your data and you are at a point where you're struggling with imposter syndrome, I need you to go back and reflect. Have I made it through difficulty before? Because if you have made it through difficulty before, likely you can make it through the difficult situation that's in front of you. Okay. So it's important for you to be able to assess, what does the data say? For those of you who are new to my tribe, one of the things that I encourage everyone to pay attention to and to have is a evidence list, a brag book, a task tracker, whatever that is for you. I need you to start implementing that in your life, because that is the data that best represents what you are capable of doing. And so when you have your data in black and white that you can refer back to, it helps to silence the noise of that imposter syndrome. You're never going to be able to get that job. You're not qualified. You don't have a degree. You're too old. You're too young. Nobody's ever going to consider you. Why would they consider you? And these are the things that are running around in our head. So this is why I encourage you to make sure that you have the data. What does the data say? Okay. So that's the first part. The second thing when it comes to addressing imposter syndrome is that you cannot operate in isolation. That's number 2. So the first was, what does the data say? Number 2 is, do not operate in isolation. Ooh, and I'm going to come for some people's edges today, but I want to make sure that you get this. So number 2 is, do not operate in isolation. Okay. If you're with me, I want you to say with me. Yo, I am thirsty today. Do not operate in isolation, because if you are operating in isolation, it is likely going to happen that you will talk yourself out of pursuing what you know is better for you. So this is why you cannot operate in isolation. You need to have your data, but you also need to surround yourself with the right people. And this is where I'm going to come for some people. Some people in your tribe are only good for a certain season. And it's not that they're not good for you right now. It's just that their season has passed. And perhaps the reason why the feelings of imposter syndrome feel so much stronger is because you're surrounded by the wrong folk. And so, as you are trying to elevate, as you are trying to grow, as you are trying to do things differently, it will sound like, oh, I don't think you should do that. Why are you doing so much? I'm not there yet. Okay. So, do not operate in isolation and reevaluate who is in your circle. Because if you're surrounded with other people who are on the same track to pursue better and pursue more, then you will not be on the struggle bus. But some of us have a hard time letting go of people we know we should have let go of for a very long time. If you're on my newsletter, I dropped the link to the podcast where I talked about forming trauma bonds at work. Okay. And that is one of the things that we're going to be talking about at the upcoming conference, is reevaluating who is in your circle, networking with intention, but also identifying when you have formed a trauma bond. Sometimes the reason why we stay in some of these places, despite them being toxic, is because we've formed trauma bonds with the people who we work with. And for those of you who are in management already or in leadership roles, it sounds like you saying things like, oh, but I can't leave my team, or I really like the people that I work with, or I don't know if I'm going to find something else where I'm this comfortable. Okay. So identifying a trauma bond becomes really powerful for you, so that you're not making decisions based off comfort, but you're making decisions off of taking ownership of your career. And so when you are operating with the right circle, with the right group of people, then you cannot stay small. One of the things that I get so much in my DMs and in my emails is, Susana, why are you doing an event in person? Why don't you leave your event online? Why can't you do a meet and greet online? Why can't you do it in person? Because something transformational happens, and there is something powerful that happens when you get a group of women who have decided in their heart and in their mind that they are no longer going to settle for average, and you put them in a room and you equip them. It's almost electrifying what happens in that room. And may I submit to you that not only is it electrifying what happens in that room, those women, after they have received the information, after they've created their action steps, after they've been surrounded by other people, two things happen. One, they form a stronger bond and network. And two, they take it back to their places of employment, refusing to settle for what they were settling before. So if you have been one of those individuals where you're like, Susana, I can't make it to your event, or why aren't you doing it online? I just gave you the response as to why. Because I'm tired of people hiding behind screens or hiding behind keyboards, attempting to be someone who they are not, attracting you or pulling you into their circle of influence or into their sphere. And then you get around them and you can't understand why you're so irritable, why things just don't seem to work out, why you so mad at work, at home, and everywhere in between. There's a reason for that. So the first thing was to identify, what does the data say? Secondly, do not operate in isolation. And thirdly, make sure you have a plan. Okay? Y'all are cracking me up. For those of you who are in the chat talking about this lip color, I promise I will give it to you. And thank you for the compliments. But I don't want to lose track of what I'm saying. But the third aspect to combating imposter syndrome is have a plan. Have a plan. See, I can tell that some of you who follow me, y'all, I am humbled, I am honored, and my mind is increasingly blown by the fact that our online community on IG alone is over 500,000 people. That is wild to me. Wild. Because 500K was not on my bingo card, but here we are. And this is why I am so excited and so honored to be able to teach in this way, because my plan was just to be able to impact one. Impact one. And I am living out my miracle by being able to impact so many. The reason that I tell you that in order for you to effectively combat imposter syndrome is to assess the data, don't operate in isolation, and have a plan is because even if you only have the opportunity to impact one, you never know who that one can impact because you chose to step out. See, imposter syndrome will keep you held back. It'll keep you kind of in this tension, like, do I or do I not? Do I or do I not? And at some point, you have to make the decision that I will. And when you have a plan, not that you need to know all of the details, but when you have a plan, it is easier for you to persist. Because I can tell you that there are moments and there are days, there are seasons where I'm like, I don't know that I want to do this anymore. Or I get some troll in the comments who's going wild. And I'm like, you know what? I'm originally from New York. Like, don't make me take off these hoops. But you have to come to the understanding that the loudest voice is not always the right voice. Amen. Okay. I'm taking y'all to church today. The loudest voice is not always the right voice. So this is why having a plan becomes so important. Because when the noise starts to happen, when people start to question what it is that you're doing, why are you doing it? Why does it look this way? You can revert back to your plan based off of the information that you got from your data, because your data tells me that you are that girl. But here's the thing. Too many people don't have a plan. You only start to create a plan when you're frustrated, pissed off, and burnt out. And by the time that you get to that point, it's become too late. So then everything seems like an issue. Okay? So that was a really long response, but I wanted to be able to equip y'all. The whole purpose of my practice is that you are seen and valued, heard and equipped. That is the whole reason why I teach the way that I teach. Behind everything that I do, that is the driving force, that you are seen, valued, heard, and equipped. You know why? Because for too long, people who looked like you and I were none of those things. So around these parts, if you are new, just be ready to have something to take notes with, baby, because you're going to be learning. Okay, let's take the next question. So to recap, you guys asked me, Susana, what do you do about imposter syndrome? Assess the data. Do not operate in isolation and make a plan. Okay. All right, let's keep going. So let's see. This individual who asked their question is, I just got my master's degree and I have 20 years of experience in public health. And I want to transition, but I don't know what to do. When you are in a season where you are trying to pivot, okay? When you are in a season where you are trying to pivot, especially for my folks of color, my women of color, I want you to identify one thing that you want to do that is new. Okay? One thing. The problem that I run into when I'm working and coaching with my clients is that there is quite a bit of conditioning that we have fallen subject to, where we feel as if we have to do all of the things. And so scattered focus leads to scattered results. And so when I'm asking you, okay, so what industry is it that you want to pursue? Well, I kind of want to do human resources, but I really like operations management. But then I really think that I kind of want to go into executive leadership. And then I'm not sure. I kind of have a passion for the arts. Baby, one. And it's not that you can't deploy all of your skills and talents, but it's that you're trying to do too much. Okay. And so scattered focus leads to scattered results. So if you're in a season where you are trying to pivot, identify what is the one aspect that you want to go all in on. And can I prove to you how this works? Because a lot of people are like, you don't know me from a can of paint, and you probably shouldn't trust what I say. You should Google search who Susana Alba is. So like that, you can see what the data says, right? I just told you, assess the data. But the reason why I share this with y'all is because if you are trying to get a raise, if you are trying to pivot in your career, if you are trying to grow and you're focusing on everything, you're going to be stuck in the same exact spot. So for me, I knew that I wanted to amplify the voices of women of color. And I knew that I could use social media to be able to do that. Well, the challenge there becomes is that there's a whole bunch of social media outlets that I could leverage. And I was showing up everywhere and nowhere at the same time because I was trying to be on the app that rhymes with TikToks. I was trying to be on YouTube. I was trying to be on LinkedIn. I was trying to do all the things. And so what that was doing was that was making me stressed out because I didn't feel that I was giving you enough valuable information. And it was leaving me attracting the wrong individuals. So by me focusing in on a single platform and going all in and being able to share my heart in a very powerful, no gatekeeping type of way, it led me to be able to grow and expand. But you got to start with one. Okay? So if you're in a season where you're trying to pivot, identify what is the one thing that you really want to get good at. So like that, when you work with someone like myself and we're trying to build your brand, rewrite your resumes and your cover letters, build your LinkedIn profile, create your persona, we are focused in who you are and what you want to be known for. I'm going to give you an example. You are watching me on one of 4 different platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or IG. But on this side of the camera, it is one individual, 4 different vantage points. Can you see the power in focusing on just one? Okay. So that was a really long response, but I wanted to be able to give you context so like that you can understand it. If you got it, I want you to type "got it" in the chat. If you got it, I want you to type "got it." Because we got like, listen, I'm giving you masterclass quality kind of stuff here. Okay. So if you got it, I want you to say "got it." All right, all right, all right. All right, y'all are getting it. Yes, I love it. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna take 2 more questions and then I'm gonna answer your questions live. The next question that I got was, how do you know when it is time to leave your current employer? Ooh, wait. How do you know when it is time to leave your current employer? I have X amount of years of experience, but I'm also comfortable but bored. How do you push past the fear of doing something new? So I say this, and again, it doesn't always resonate with everyone, and take it with whatever is going to work for you. But the way that I assess whether it's time to go is that, again, I have a plan. So I encourage my clients to be looking for a new opportunity or transitioning into a new opportunity every 3 to 5 years. Okay. I encourage my clients and I teach my students, my coaching students, that they should be looking for a new role every 3 to 5 years. And the reason that I share that is because for us, if you get it, you get it. For us, especially if you are a woman, there is a consistent gap in pay. And the way that you combat that, if done correctly, is by being able to increase your salary anywhere between 10 to 15%. But how do you do that when your current employer will only sometimes increase your salary on average by 3 to 5%? So for many folks, finding a new opportunity every 3 to 5 years makes the most sense to be able to combat things such as cost of living, things such as inflation. And while that is scary, it does not mean that it is impossible. And while this job market is difficult, it does not mean that it is impossible. Okay. So I equate my kind of career strategy for Susana. This may not work for you. That you should be looking for a new opportunity every 3 to 5 years. And the reason that I use that is because I go off of in the US every 3 or every 4 to 6 years, or every 4 to 6 years, you are either moving up or you are graduating. Moving up means that you're going from one grade to another in the US. Graduating means that you're physically leaving a location and you're moving into another one. So every 3 to 5 years, I encourage that. And typically the question that I get is, Susana, well, how do you grow? Well, every 3 to 5 years, you should be mastering a specific skill so that as you are applying for a new role, you're applying to where you want to go, not from just where you are. And I don't have a lot of time to break this down, but one of the things that I see a lot of people doing is that they will apply to positions based off of the current title that they hold. And so if you want to leave your company and you're a marketing director, you start looking for other marketing director positions, when in fact, you have a higher amount of skill in that marketing role that now perhaps you can move into a different level within marketing. And so a lot of people will go off of the title instead of going off of what is the work that I can do. And how do you know if you are ready to go into that next level type of work? Assess the data. So if you are a marketing director, continuing with that kind of topic, if you are in marketing and you're the marketing director and you're fed up where you want to go, or you're bored, you're not challenged anymore and you want to find a new opportunity, may I submit to you to assess your data? So when your boss goes on vacation, pretend that you're the marketing director, okay? When your boss goes on vacation, do they put you as the person that they should contact while that boss is away? If the response to that question is yes, does your boss tell you that you are doing a great job, that you've met or exceeded expectations, that you are a vital part of the team? If the response to that is yes, if you are the person that within said marketing department, everybody's coming to you because they know that you are going to give them the right answers, because they know that you are going to get things done, because they trust your opinion. If the response to that is also yes, you're likely ready to move into a higher role. But here's the problem. You're not looking at those higher roles because you're looking at the title and you're like, oh, no, I could not do that. Susana, I can't. And then when we look at the job description, many of my clients or my coaching students are like, oh, but I do that every day. Exactly. So why are we going off of the title and not going off of the scope of work? Okay. So don't discount yourself. Every 3 to 5 years, that's how you should be assessing where you are at. But if you're only going off of the job title, you're going to struggle because job titles are going to be different company by company. But the scope of work is going to define for you whether or not you can do the job. So let's assume that instead of looking for a marketing director role, you're looking now for a vice president of marketing role. And the title is like, "Ooh, it's scary, a vice president role." But then you look at the job descriptions and what's expected, and you're like, "Oh, wait, I could do that. Actually, I'm kind of doing that right now." Baby. So what are we talking about? So this is how you can assess whether it's time for you to be able to stay or to go. Assess whether you are graduating into a new role or you're moving up within the same organization or graduating into a higher role. Okay. And let me just put this caveat in there too. Sometimes you got to take a sidestep to take a leap. I'm going to say that one more time. I told y'all I talk in sound bites. Sometimes you got to take a sidestep to take a leap. What does that look like? Sometimes it looks like you taking a lateral move to be able to understand the culture, understand the operations, understand who the key players are. So like that, you can leap into the next role. Make sense? Make sense? If you're with me, I want you to write make sense. Because some of y'all are looking at your paycheck and you're like, Susana, the math ain't mathing. I'm doing the job of this, that, and the third, but the coin just ain't there. That's how you can assess whether it's time for you to go or to stay. Okay. So every 3 to 5 years, I want you to hold either your moving up ceremony or your graduation. Okay. All right. So I promised y'all that I would give you the color that I'm wearing. I wish I had it with me, but the color that I'm wearing on my lips, for those of you who have been DMing me, because I see your DMs, the color that I am wearing is Boss Lady by the Lip Bar. Okay. You can get it on Amazon. It is one of my favorite products to use. It is Black owned, woman owned. They have amazing colors. So that's that. Okay. But yeah, so if you are in that type of place where you are trying to figure out what is it that I'm going to do I stay or do I go, Susana, I'm not sure. Baby, I just gave you the tea. Every 3 to 5 years, assess where you're at. And the reason that I say every 3 to 5 years, y'all, is because I want to give you context. Wages, okay, wages have increased since 1993, because most of y'all would probably be in that kind of age group. Since 1993 to now, wages have increased by 2 times. Okay. Housing expenses have increased by 6 times. So if all you're doing is increasing your salary by 2 times, you're still 4 times behind. Ooh, I'm teaching. Listen, so I want you to be able to understand why this becomes so important. Okay. More often than not, companies are not necessarily super excited when you're leaving, but also more often than not, they're not going to tell you that they're going to lay you off. It kind of just happens. So this is why you need to make sure that you have a plan, that you have your data, and that you don't operate in isolation. Okay. So the other thing that I want you to pay attention to, because this is relevant to the next question that I got, is resumes. Resumes. Many people are like, Susana, my resume, I struggle writing my resume. On May 8th, I'm going to be hosting a resume workshop. On May 8th, I'm going to be hosting a resume workshop via Zoom. This is only going to be for my people who are on my email list. So if you've not joined my email list, today would be a really good day for you to do so. Because tonight, I'm going to be sending out the registration for that class that I'm going to be doing, the resume workshop. So what do you get when you come to a resume workshop with Susana? Well, I'm going to teach you what are the 3 types of resumes that exist currently in the market. You don't need to necessarily know all 3. You need to know which one is the best for you and where you want to go. So you're going to learn what are the 3 types of resumes that are currently on the market. You're going to learn the framework that I use in order to be able to craft a resume that stands out. Okay. And then the last thing that I do on that call in real time, I will review people's resumes. Okay. And the reason that that becomes so powerful is because it is a living, breathing document that belongs to someone else. And I review it in real time and coach you through that. So if that's the kind of support that you're looking for, then I'm going to pin my email list right here. You're going to join at www.susanaalba.co. Susana, y'all, I got fat fingers and I'm trying to type while I talk. It is a whole thing. Okay. But you're gonna go to my website, susanaalba.co, and it's called Hey Sis. Okay. My newsletter is Hey Sis. I promise I will not spam you because ain't nobody got time for that. I don't know where this is coming from, but I will not spam you. And I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to register before this evening, because then you're going to be mad that you missed it. On top of that, at the class that I'm teaching, I'm also going to be giving you a resume template that I've used, that I've leveraged with my clients, that has worked. Okay. So it's not so much necessarily just about the template, because I could give you a template, but I want you to understand the framework that goes behind creating a resume that gets you to the right people, that attracts you to the right individuals. Okay. So get on the email list. To join the email list, it's absolutely free. Okay. So just get on the email list. And tonight I will be sending out registration information for that class. Okay. So like that, you know what to expect, you know where to be, how it's going to happen. It will not happen on any of these platforms. It's going to be a private Zoom that we will be hosting, and save the date. It's going to be May 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you give me 60 minutes of your time, I will teach you how to break down your resume in a way that, number one, makes sense for where you want to go, but from the perspective of a hiring manager, of an interviewer, of a person who's done this now for over a decade. Okay. So you want to go to susanaalba.co, get on the email list, and tonight you will have information on how to register, what you have to do, all that other jazz. It's really not that hard. And I'll also, later on, closer to the event, I will be letting you know, hey, if you want me to consider reviewing your resume in real time, submit your resume here. But first, we got to get you registered, and then we can review your resume. Okay. So that's going to happen on May 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You want to get in the room, especially if you want to build your network. How many of you would say, I struggle with building an online network, or I don't know where to start? The last class that I held, people were able to make connections there that led to new opportunities. So this is how you build your community. Okay. So go to the site, make sure that you register. And then from there, we'll continue going forward. Okay. Okay. So go to the site, susanaalba.co. Make sure you register for the class that's taking place May 8th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we will go from there and be able to review your resume. You'll get my perspective. And the biggest and my favorite part of the class is being able to review resumes in real time, because a lot of people just don't know where to start. And so that's why you're here, my love. That's why you're here. And that's why I titled this live, You Need a Raise, because I know you do. Okay. You don't have to tell me, nor do you need to tell anybody else who's watching. But I know you on the other side of the screen shaking your head like, sis, I need a raise. Okay. I need it. Well, let's get to it. Okay. So there's that. All right. If you have a question, we have about 10 minutes before I have to wrap. If you have a question, you can drop it on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you're watching me live, you can drop your question in the comments and I will answer your question there. Okay. If you are watching me on IG, there is a question bubble. You can drop your question there. Okay. And I'll answer your questions there. I'm probably going to take about 3 or 4 questions. So like that I can serve y'all well, because y'all got to get back to work, okay? Or you got to get back to doing what you're doing. So I won't keep you too long. So if you want to join me for the class, you're going to go to susanaalba.co and you're going to just register for the Hey Sis newsletter. susanaalba.co, register for the Hey Sis newsletter. That's where you'll be getting more information surrounding when the class is, what will happen, and you'll also get recaps of this kind of work that I do. Okay. So if you are here and you want to join me on May 8th, all you have to do right now is register for my email list, because it's only going to go to the folks who are on my email list. You will not hear me giving the information for the class on the platforms. Okay. So let's get to your questions. This is a really good question. How do you do LinkedIn? Do you just start adding people? I would say before you go and build a LinkedIn profile, one of the things that we work with our clients is we want to get very clear on who you are, what you want to be known for, and what industry you are targeting. Who you are, what industry you are targeting, and what do you want to be known for. Those are the 3 questions that you should ask yourself before you start putting anything on LinkedIn. The reason why that we do that before you start doing that on LinkedIn is because when you get to LinkedIn, my loves, let me tell you that LinkedIn will operate based off of who the newest folks are, and their accounts will get a lot of eyes. So before you post anything, before you start sending out connection requests, make sure you know the answer to those 3 questions: who you are, what do you want to be known for, and what industry you are targeting. So like that, you attract. One of the things about my tribe, whether you are on IG or Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, is that we don't chase, we attract. We attract what is right for us. But in order for us to be able to attract what is right for us, we got to know what we stand for. Oh, that was very New York. Stand for. You got to know what you stand for, okay? So that's the way that you get started on LinkedIn. Once you have done that, then you can create your first post, and then you can start adding people. Because you start adding people from places that are not relevant, you're going to get a whole lot of nothing. Okay. So that's how I would recommend you get started on LinkedIn. Okay. Next question. How do you apply for a leadership position without leadership experience? Such a good question. 9 times out of 10, if you feel like you have, you want to apply for a leadership role, you need to display how you are a leader. Leadership, y'all, is about influence. Write that down. Leadership is about influence. Okay. Kind of going back to the point that I shared before, the loudest voice is not always the right one. And so have you noticed that there are some people who have leadership titles, but nobody listens to what they say? And in the same token, have you noticed that there are people who don't have leadership titles, but other people will trust their word over the person who has the title? Leadership is about influence. So if you want to apply for a leadership role, my encouragement to you is going to be display how have you been influential in your work. Display how you have been influential in your work. So like that, you can translate that leadership ability to the leadership role you want to go into. Okay. So leadership is about influence. It doesn't always mean that you need to have the title. And I say this with a lot of love, but I know some people who have leadership title who clearly are not ready for a leadership role. They're just really well liked, or they just have the right connection. They don't know how to lead. Okay. So assess who you are, who you have access to, how have you been influential, and then how do you display that on your resume? All right. Next question is, Ooh, this is a good one. When looking for new employment, how do you identify transferable skills to new employment? I work in real estate industry, but I'm open to look elsewhere. Okay, so I can't get into this too much, but there are going to be two ways that you can do this, okay? If you want to get like my full thoughts on what it is to identify your transferable skills, there's two ways that you can do this here in the next couple of months. The first one is going to be joining the resume class, because that's definitely a topic that we talk about in the class. But then the second one is I'm going to be breaking down what transferable skills are at the Women's Leadership Conference. So June 25th and June 26th, I'm going to be hosting a Women's Leadership Conference in New York. And during that conference, I'm going to be breaking down what that all means. But to give you the sound bite of what it means for you to be able to assess your transferable skills. Assess your transferable skills from an aspect of wide, and then from an aspect of depth. Okay, wide being those types of skills that can go to any industry. Are you good at researching or collecting data? Are you good at communicating or casting vision? Are you good at you being able to craft reports? Those three are going to be things that you can address through all industries. All industries are going to need data. All industries are going to need reports. All industries are going to need casting vision or communication. Those are transferable to all industries, right? But depth is going to come when you can speak to the power of where you are specifically going to go. Where you're specifically going to go. Y'all can't hear me? Can y'all hear me? Oh no. Somebody said they can't hear me anymore. Can y'all hear me? Uh-oh. If you can hear me, give me a 1 in the chat. If you can hear me, give me a 1. Okay. Okay, you can. Woo! All right, just in case I didn't say that before, or you didn't hear me before. Transferable skills, think wide and then think depth. Depth is going to be in terms specifically to the industry that you want to go to. Okay, beautiful. Y'all can hear me. Specifically to the industry that you want to go to. So, for example, when it comes to like if I wanted to go back into the industry that I was in, so for a very long time, for over a decade actually, my industry was in the education sector. So if I am going to go back into that sector, or I want to transition, but I really love teaching, I need to be able to break down how I teach, the modalities in which I teach, what have been my experiences with teaching people, how well do they retain the information. That's transferable to the industry in which I want to go. So for example, if somebody were to tell me, Susana, can you give me an example of how you teach? Because I have leveraged the skills that I have online, it's very easy now for me to be able to share alive, because now you can see my teaching and my teaching ability. You can see how people engage and interact with my ability to teach. And I know that you are retaining the information, because when you guys book your one-on-one calls, you show me your notebooks with with notes of a single session. So that is how you can identify, like that is how you think through transferable skills. Think wide and then think depth or deep. Wide and deep. Okay. All right. Awesome. I love that question. But there's so much more to that. Okay, what sort of questions should I expect for a second interview regarding leadership? What kind of questions would you expect? I could tell you some of the questions that I would ask. And I don't know if this is going to be relevant for you, but some of the questions that I would ask is, why should we hire you and why shouldn't we hire you? And I'm not going to give you the responses for those, because then we'll be here forever, because they should sound like you, not like me. But why should we hire you and why shouldn't we hire you? My next question is going to be, can you tell me how your skill set in terms of leadership style is a good fit? Can you tell me how your skill set in terms of leadership style is going to be a good fit? Okay. And then my last question, which typically would stump people is, especially if I'm interviewing you for a leadership role, I understand that leadership is goes both ways. So my next question would be, what is your expectation from the leader that you will have? So if you were interviewing for me, what is your expectation of me as your leader? And the reason that I ask that type of question is because I need to know, I need to see where this candidate is in terms of their reality and their expectation. Because if your expectation for a leadership role is that I'm going to hold your hand through the entire thing, then you're not ready for leadership. But if your expectation is that you can expect feedback every so often, that you have a teachable spirit and that you are coachable, then that's someone that I'm open to working with. Okay? So those would be the questions that I would ask surrounding a leadership role. Yeah. Okay. Um Question here, this is a good one. How does the 3 to 5 year rule apply to government jobs? I think the 3 to 5 year rule, again, because I don't have a lot of time, it has a significant impact not only to your transition, but also to how you network and how you are intentional about connecting with people. So one of the things that I wish someone would have told me earlier in my 20s, because we are 21 plus shipping and handling. Nobody needs to know how much shipping or handling. But one of the things that I wish someone would have told me earlier in my career is the importance of networking after hours. Now, listen, I know you're tired. I know you don't want to deal with certain people, but every so often, you should spend time getting to hear what are the thoughts or what are the things that people are kind of discussing after work. Like sometimes people will go out for a happy hour or they'll go out to celebrate somebody's birthday, and inevitably they'll talk about work. The reason why that becomes so important is because during that type of environment, number one, there's no pressure, and number two, especially if people are like under the influence of alcohol, sometimes people talk too much. Okay. But if you are there strategically, you're there to listen. And then now you can build your strategy to move on to the next thing. But you need to be connected to the right people. Has anybody been in a situation where you're watching people move up and you're watching them connect and you're like, how? But you also notice that every time that there's an outing or they have an opportunity to walk around the office and get to know people, like that's the first thing that comes to your mind. Those people are being strategic with who they're connecting with. I can tell you from previous examples, my staff when I was in an in-office role, they knew that I was hardly ever in my office. Hardly ever in my office, because I understood two things. The most important work that was happening with my team was not happening in my office. It was happening with them. So I needed to meet them where they were at, be able to assess and see what they were struggling with so that as a leader, I could provide solutions. Leaders, you are there to develop your people, not to have your people cater to you. Okay? And what inevitably happens for us women of color is that we get tired. We get tired of trying to play the game. My thought is create the new rules. Create the rules. And so you need to be able to surround yourself with people who will give you strategy, but also you need to you need to create the opportunity for you to be more visible. Visible. A lot of people right now, they just want a whole lot of, I want to work from home. I want to work from home. I only want to work from home. And while I can understand that, out of sight, out of mind. So if there is an opportunity, and I don't have if there is an opportunity for growth, for expansion, for you to be able to move up, but I have not had the opportunity to get to know who you are, be exposed to your work ethic, know your frame of thought, then I'm not going to think of you. Because again, out of sight, out of mind. Now, for those of you who are working from home and you're like, Susana, but I'm not in an office, you still have the ways that you can create connection. There are still ways for you to be able to do that. For those of you who are in the office, creating connection becomes so much more easy because you can walk around the office. But for those of you who are not, you need to start getting creative with how can you make a name for yourself. This is why on LinkedIn, I told you, you need to be able to answer 3 questions: who you are, what you want to be known for, and what industry you are targeting. Because if you're going to network and you're currently in, I don't know, you're currently in aircraft science. That was the like wildest thing that I could think of. Aircraft science. And now you want to go into project management. Well, you can, but I wouldn't encourage you to continue to network with aircraft people if you want to go into project management, because likely they won't be able to give you the lingo or expose you to the culture or teach you something new about where you want to go. Can you see how this works, y'all? So whether you are in government, whether you are in the nonprofit sector, whether you are working for yourself, you need to be able to know what those things are, especially if you want to grow every 3 to 5 years. So for example, Susana-Alba, because I only know how to talk about myself, my practice will be 2 years old in June. Yay! Happy birthday to us. 2 years old. But by year 3, you best believe I'm already thinking now, okay, we celebrate 3 years in June. What will new look like for us? Because I could get real comfortable just teaching like this. But imagine how much more exciting it would be if there is another extension based off being able to serve people well. Okay? So I went off on a tangent there, but I hope that that helped somebody. I hope. Let's see. Okay, this is going to be the last question that I answer. And then I'm going to let y'all go for real, for real. Question here is job offers are coming. Y'all, I need to have lunch. That was not a word. Let's take a breath, Susana. Job offers are coming. How do I decide which is best? The choices are coming out of order. Okay, so so first things first, that is not atypical for you to get offers all over the place. This is why I always ask you or tell you to make sure that you have the offers in writing. Oh, okay, listen, hang on, all right? Stay right there. My computer's about to die and I don't want to lose y'all. So just hold on because I have tea for you. Yeah, y'all stayed. I love it. Okay. So, question here is how do I decide between my offers? So here's the thing. Firstly, my love, I want you to get your offers in writing. Okay? Get your offers in writing. Secondly, I want you to realistically assess the offers and the life that you are currently living. Okay? Because if the offers don't make sense for the life that you're currently living or the life that you want to live, then that will help you to decide whether or not the offer is worth entertaining. Now, typically people will ask me, Susana, is it worth me taking a pay cut? Well, my question to you is going to be, what are your trade-offs? So if you take a pay cut, does it allow you to work from home? If you take a pay cut, do you have better benefits and better benefits at the organization? Do you have the opportunity to grow? Is there some kind of incentive? So if you take a pay cut, are they willing to pay for your a certification or for you to go back to school, or are they willing to pay for your children's education? So this is why having the offers in hand becomes so important for you. It's not just about the money, y'all. It's not about the money. So when you are assessing the offers, you need to be able to assess, is this going to help my life increase, life overall? Okay? Not just work life, life overall. So when you are assessing your offers, make sure that they are in alignment with the life that you want to continue to live or the life that you forecast for yourself. Because I have been victim of taking jobs because the money looked good, and this took a major hit. So was it worth it? So when you're assessing your offers, consider that. Secondly, for those of you who are like, I'm waiting for an offer from another person, or I'm waiting for an offer from another organization, but I don't want to lose this offer, tell them that. Okay. And I know that people get really nervous. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to lose this opportunity. Baby, you have options. Why would you not want to maximize on that? So if they give you an offer and they're telling you, we need to know by X date, your response should sound something like this. Thank you so much for this offer. Always lead with gratitude. Always lead with gratitude. Thank you so much for this offer. I'm currently evaluating the other offers that I have received. Caveat here, they don't need to see your other offers. Don't fall for that trap. So thank you for this offer. I'm currently evaluating the other offers that I have received. I will have an answer to you by X date. Okay? Thank you so much for the offer. I am currently evaluating the offers that I've received. I will have an answer to you by X date. Now, if you're waiting for an offer from another organization, you can say something like, hey, I'm really excited about this opportunity. I have other offers that I'm evaluating. Could you share what the offer will be? So like that, I can give it a fair assessment. Okay. So that's the way that you leverage having multiple offers and then getting them to give you a response surrounding that. All righty. So I hope that today was helpful. Yes, I will be saving this live. Yes, you will be able to go back and watch it. And then lastly, make sure you sign up for the class, okay? Make sure you sign up for the Resume Bootcamp. It's going to take place on May 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I may or may not have a treat for you for the conference. If those of you that decide you want to come. But you have to be in the room. You have to be able to be there in order to get all the goodies, okay? So I love y'all to the moon and back. Thank you so much for the gift of your time, talent, and attention. And I sincerely hope and pray that you have left better than when you first got here, okay? So if this life helped you, make sure that you share it with someone else who needs it. I will see you on May 8th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. To register, you're going to go to susanaalba.co, get on the email list so that you can get all of the details tonight surrounding how to register for the Resume Bootcamp, okay? But you got to be in the list. You got to be in the room. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.